Is this Mar-a-Lago? Hell yeah, baby.
Well, thank you very much, Melania, myself, and our entire family. I want to thank you all for being here tonight. It's a very special occasion at a very special place. You and all of those watching are the heart and soul of this incredible movement and the greatest country in the history.
You know that room smells like death, okay? You know that room smells like death and the worst old kind of cologne you could imagine.
Never been anything like it, and perhaps there will never be anything like it again. There's never been anything to compete with what we have all done. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, and my fellow citizens, America's comeback starts right now.
Draco Noir and sulfur.
2 years ago, when I left office, the United States stood ready for its golden age. Our nation was at the pinnacle of power, prosperity, and prestige, towering above all rivals, vanquishing all enemies, and striding into the future, confident and so strong. In 4 short years, everybody was doing great. Men, women, African Americans, Asian Americans, Hispanic Americans, everybody was thriving like never before. There was never a time like this. We turned the page on decades of globalist sellouts and one-sided trade deals, lifted millions out of poverty, and together we built the greatest economy in the history of the world.
Believe me.
When the virus hit our shores, I took decisive action and saved lives and the U.S. economy. And by October of the same year, America was roaring back with the #1 fastest economic recovery ever recorded. How about that? All of the incoming administration and all they had to do was just sit back and watch. Inflation was non-existent. Our southern border was by far the strongest ever. And because the border was so tight, drugs were coming into our country at the lowest level in many, many years. Importantly, after decades of rising energy costs, the United States had finally attained the impossible dream of American energy independence, which soon would have turned into energy dominance. For the first time in memory, China was reeling and back on its heels. You've never seen that before, because the United States was outdoing them on every single front, and China was paying billions and billions of dollars in taxes and tariffs. The farmers know that because they got 28 billion of it. No president had ever sought or received $1 for our country from China until I came along, and we were getting hundreds of billions of dollars. Many people think that because of this, China played a very active role in the 2020 election. Just saying, just saying.
Who? No one thinks
sure that didn't happen.
That's not even a conspiracy that people think.
China,
who thinks that? They say like even Cuba and Che Guevara and shit, but I've never heard like people be like China.
Businesses were pouring back because of our historic tax and
they think it now.
Cuts,
You bet your ass they think it now.
In history, bigger even than what Ronald Reagan was able to produce, and he produced a lot. China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea were in check and respected. They respected the United States, and quite honestly, they respected me. I knew them well. I knew them well. The vicious ISIS caliphate, which no president was able to conquer, was decimated by me and our great warriors in less than 3 weeks, and al-Baghdadi, its founder, was hunted down and killed. North Korea had not launched North Korea had not launched a single long-range missile since my summit with Chairman Kim Jong-un nearly 3 years before. We developed a relationship, and that's a good thing, not a bad thing. It's a good thing. Very good thing, actually, because look at what's happening today. My opponents made me out to be a warmonger and just a terrible person who would immediately go into war. They said during the 2016 campaign that if he becomes president...
Bro, you literally used the mother of all bombs like 3 days into your presidency.
Wars like you've never seen before.
And you assassinated a foreign head of state.
I've gone decades without
Why are
war.
we...
The first
He
president
drone
to do
strike
it
more than
without
Obama.
a period. The world was at peace, America was prospering, and our country was on track for an amazing future because I made big promises to the American people.
Jealous?
And unlike other presidents,
Dude,
I
that's
kept
so good.
my promises. I kept them.
Facebook sent a memo to its fact checkers this afternoon telling them if Trump announces he's running for president tonight, they can no longer fact check anything he says. That's awesome! Dude, things are getting so cool. Dude, I'm running for president. No more fact checking, baby.
Thank you very much. Under our
Fuck is
leadership,
that?
we were a great and glorious nation, something you haven't heard for quite a long period
Shouldn't
of
you
time.
be fact checking him harder?
Nation,
Like, what
and
the fuck?
importantly, we were a free nation. But now we are a nation in decline. We are a failing nation. For millions of Americans, the past 2 years under Joe Biden have been a time of pain, hardship, anxiety, and despair. As we speak, inflation is the highest in over 50 years. Gas prices have reached the highest levels in history and expect them to go much higher now that the strategic national reserves, which I filled up, have been virtually drained in order to keep gasoline
He filled
prices
them up.
lower.
Dude, he's
just
saying
prior to
he's responsible
the
for
election.
Biden being able to lower gas
Biden
prices.
has intentionally surrendered our energy independence.
That's wild.
There is no longer even a thought of dominance.
Which implies he knows
and we
that
are
it's
now
good, that
begging
people
for
recognize
energy help from foreign nations, many of whom find us detestable. Our southern border has been erased, and our country is being invaded by millions and millions of unknown people, many of whom are entering for a very bad and sinister reason. And you know what that reason is. We will be paying a big price for this invasion into our country for years to come. Hundreds of thousands of pounds of deadly drugs, including very lethal fentanyl, are flooding across the now open and totally porous southern border. The blood-soaked streets of our once great cities are cesspools of violent crimes, which are being watched all over the world as leadership of other countries explain that this is what America and democracy is really all about. How sad. The United States has been embarrassed, humiliated, and weakened for all to see. The disasters in Afghanistan, perhaps the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, where we lost lives, left Americans behind, and surrendered $85 billion worth of the finest military equipment anywhere in the world. And Ukraine, which would have never happened if I were your president, are something.
Said Ukraine would never happen if he was president.
And even the Democrats admit that. That's something I've seen them admit over and over again.
All the Democrats, they're always admitting it because they're like, it's good that Ukraine is
speaking
happening.
of us with scorn and laughter and derision because of those two events. But there are many more. Even just today, a missile was sent in, probably by Russia, to Poland, 50 miles into Poland. And people are going absolutely wild and crazy, and they're not happy. They're very, very angry. Now we have a president who falls asleep at global conferences. was held in contempt by the
I took the
British
walk to
Parliament
Poland.
over Afghanistan.
Little yachty.
Thanks to the words of wisdom, he said thank you to the wrong country for inviting him to a major summit on the environment of all things.
Bro, it's kind of funny that he's shitting on Biden for misstating things when he always does that.
A name
like he did that all the time during his presidency. He'd shake the wrong hands. He'd push world leaders. Like he said all that. He had all those goofs and gaffes.
2 short years ago, you cannot mention the nuclear word. It's too devastating. The Green New Deal and the environment,
N-word, as I call it,
may affect us in 300 years, is all that is talked about. And yet nuclear weapons, which would destroy the world immediately, are never even discussed as a major threat. Can you imagine? They say the ocean will rise 1/8 of an inch over the next 200 to 300 years.
I'm in Florida. It's not rising.
But don't worry about nuclear weapons that can take out entire countries with one shot. Something is wrong with their thinking. Under Biden and the radical Democrats, America has been mocked, derided, and brought to its knees, perhaps like never before.
It's kind of wild that he also he destroyed the denuclearization agreement.
Have to be this way.
Like he single-handedly destroyed the denuclearization agreement with Iran, which Iran kept following, and he still sanctioned them. Like if your goal is less nukes, you fucked that up.
We were a great nation, and soon we will be a great nation again. The decline of America is being forced upon us by Biden and the radical left lunatics running our government right into the ground. This decline is not a fate we must accept. When given the choice, boldly, clearly, and directly, I believe the American people will overwhelmingly reject the left's platform of national ruin, and they will embrace our platform of national greatness and glory to America. Glory.
Dude, it's so good. How can you defeat this man? He just said the left is doo-doo caca and I'm all the good things. That's like literally, that's his platform. His platform is all the good things. They're doing the bad things. I'm doing the good things.
Long and unnecessary period
Greatness
of waiting,
and glory.
Far longer, in fact, than any third world country. Just a short time ago, the Republicans won back control of the House of Representatives. And it was with a great Trump-endorsed candidate, Congressman-elect Kevin Kiley, who is a fantastic person.
Wait, what?
A fantastic person.
Cool, Megalo.
And I'm very happy it was his vote that did it. But we now won back. This happened just an hour ago. Much criticism is being placed on the fact that the Republican Party should have done better, and frankly, much of this blame is correct. But the citizens of our country have not yet realized the full extent and gravity of the pain our nation is going through, and the total effect of the suffering is just starting to take hold. They don't quite feel it yet, but they will very soon. I have no doubt that by 2024,
what's he saying,
it
bro?
will sadly be much worse, and they will see much more clearly what happened and what is happening to our country. And the voting will be much different. 2024.
We're not letting Democrats vote ever again, believe me, folks. What, is he threatening the country is going to be worse? Like,
are you getting ready? And I am too. I am too. I do want to point out that in the midterms, my endorsement success rate was 232 wins and only 22 losses. You don't hear that from the media. And this is an elegant night and an elegant place, and I'm not going to use the term fake news media.
But he is. But he is, though.
So we're going to keep it very elegant. But you don't hear that from the media.
Oh, how elegant it is.
You will, because people are starting to see what happened. That's some score. And in the primaries was 98.6%. but they were still trying to blame me. And the reason for the success and that unprecedented success rate is that the Trump administration changed our nation on trade, on securing the border. We're the strongest, safest border ever in the history of our country. On Islamic terrorism, we had practically, just about, not that I can think of, no Islamic attacks, terrorist attacks during the Trump administration.
What?
And in fact, we got along very well with the various countries.
Have there been Islamic attacks now? Wait, what?
Including coming up with the Abraham Accords. That's a great thing, the Abraham.
Motherfucker said, my bear spray, my elephant spray is so good. No elephant attacks in the cities.
And on building the greatest economy, any time in the history of the world, there's never been an economy like we had just 2 years ago. Despite the outcome in the Senate, we cannot lose hope. And we must all work very hard for a gentleman and a great person named Herschel Walker, a fabulous human being who loves our country and will be a great United States Senator. Herschel Walker, get out and vote for Herschel, and he deserves it. He was an incredible athlete.
Fabulous.
Maybe an even better senator. Get out and vote for Herschel
Henfella,
Walker.
thank you for the 5 gifted,
Henfella. We elected a group
Henfella.
of incredibly talented America First leaders who will be stars of our party for many years.
Does like anti-Islamic sentiment still
vote,
hit?
Another thing that's not discussed for the House, we must remember that Republicans won 5 million more votes, the largest margin in many, many years, over the Democrats. 5 million more votes. That's a big thing. Breaking the radical Democrats' grip on Congress was crucial. So in other words, because of our great congressmen and all of our great congressmen and congresswomen, we have taken over Congress. Nancy Pelosi has been fired. Isn't that nice?
You're fired, Nancy. Oh.
I told them, I said, if you just keep a little bit lower standard, you're going to have a big victory. They said, let's win by 40 seats. Let's win by 50. I said, if you win by 2 seats, be happy. But she's on her way to another country right now. She's been fired. But we always have known that
the big hat is on the big guy.
This was not the end. It was only the beginning of our fight to rescue the American dream. And it's a word you don't use. 2 words. I don't want to be Joe. It's 2 words. American dream. That was not good what he did.
Italian Santa.
A lot of bad things, like going to Idaho and saying, welcome to the state of Florida. I really love it. In order to make America great and glorious again, I am tonight announcing my candidacy for President of the United States.
It's happening, brother! It's happening! Say Paul Pelosi's gay!